By the time all of them reached the playground, it was almost 4 p.m. Medha brought a cycle for Nooni and then went and sat on some steps a short distance away and immersed herself in knitting. "What are you doing?" asked Nooni, walking over to Medha. "I am knitting a small hanging purse. I saw the design in a book. It's going to come out very nicely." "Where did you learn to knit?" "We have a weekly arts and crafts class in my school. Our teacher teaches us knitting, hand embroidering and needlework. I just love her class." A comfortable silence fell between the two girls as Medha continued to knit, and Nooni watched in fascination. After a few minutes, Medha asked, "Your name is Anushka, right? Then why does everyone call you Nooni?" "When I was a small baby, I couldn't say Anushka clearly. Whenever someone asked me what my name was, I would say Nooni. So my family and friends accepted my pronunciation and began calling me Nooni too. Somehow, the name stuck. But now that I'm grown up, people will look at me weirdly if I tell them that I can't pronounce Anushka." Medha laughed. Meanwhile, Amit and Anand started playing makeshift cricket on the other end of the ground. Mahadeva shouted out from a distance, "Come Nooni. Medha's cycle is perfect for you. You can sit on the seat and your legs will touch the ground comfortably. The most important thing about learning to cycle is getting the balance right," said Mahadeva. "The size of the cycle doesn't matter much. Now, hold the handlebar and start pedaling. I will hold the carrier from the back so that I can keep the cycle in place, and you won't crash to the ground. Don't be scared, Nooni. You will be fine. This is an open space and you won't hit anyone." As Nooni started pedaling, she felt her heart sink. The cycle was wobbling. She could hear Mahadeva's instructions behind her. "Continue pedaling. Go forward. You're holding the brake, Nooni. Don't do that. You should never brake when you are going fast or you will topple over. When you want to stop, gently brake and the cycle will slow down just enough for you to put your feet on the ground, which will bring it to a halt." Nooni cycled almost 100 meters with Mahadeva holding the carrier and running behind her. She was happy that she could pedal and move. Mahadeva encouraged her, "Keep going. This is a large ground. Take the cycle wherever you want. I will hold you." Nooni started pedaling faster. After an hour she was comfortable and started balancing on her own even though she was a little shaky. "Come on, let's go another 100 meters, said Mahadeva breathlessly. Suddenly, she heard laughter behind her. When she turned back to see what was happening, she saw Mahadeva grinning at her from a distance. He was not holding the cycle anymore. For a few seconds she was happy that she was able to ride independently, but then her cycle started wobbling and she crashed with a thud. Mahadeva came running to her and said, "Never turn back, Nooni. Look ahead and ride." For 2 more hours, Nooni continued to practice. Sometimes Mahadeva held the cycle and other times he would get Nooni started and then leave her to ride alone. By late evening, Nooni could cycle a short distance, without his help and without turning back. A little while later, the children said their goodbyes and went back to their homes. The next morning, Amit and Anand did not come to the playground. They didn't want to play cricket anymore and thought that it would be boring to watch Nooni cycle again. So they decided to go kite flying. Medha also did not turn up. It was just Nooni and her teacher, Mahadeva. Nooni practiced relentlessly, obsessed with the task at hand. By the end of the afternoon she was confident and could manage to cycle on her own. Mahadeva advised her, "Listen to my tips, Nooni. First, if you are going fast when you make a turn, then you will lose your balance. So when you want to turn left or right, slow down and then make the turn. Second, you should learn to balance while climbing uphill or coming downhill. Third, it is harder to cycle slowly than to go fast. It is best to try and keep a medium pace. If there are any potholes, go around them. Now you are ready to do this on your own. Go ahead and cycle. I will be back in 2 minutes." Nooni began cycling on her own. She felt free. From the corner of her eye, she saw Mahadeva carrying a box. She turned the cycle towards him, but she was too quick. She fell down and hurt her right knee. Blood started oozing out of the wound. Though it was really smarting, Nooni said bravely, "Oh, it barely hurts. Don't worry." As Mahadeva came closer, she saw the box in his hand. It was a first aid box. He smiled and, without saying a word, made her sit on the steps nearby, washed the wound, wiped it clean with an antiseptic, and bandaged it. He then grinned and said, "I knew you would do something like this, little Nooni. That's why I went to bring the first aid box. It is not hard to learn how to cycle. The trick to becoming a good rider is to fall less and control the bicycle well. That is very important. Today, I think that you have learnt around 80% of the task. Tomorrow I will sit on the steps, and you will take 10 rounds of the ground at a stretch and without falling. Then, I will get my cycle and come from the opposite direction to give you some practice on how to handle traffic. The day after that, I will put 2 kgs of dead weight on the carrier and check if you can still balance the cycle." When Nooni showed her grandparents the scrape on her knee that evening, they did not get scared or tell her to stop learning. Instead, they encouraged her. Falling down is a part of learning. You will be okay, Nooni. By the end of 2 more days, Nooni had completed Mahadeva's cycling curriculum. She fell down once more, but she wasn't hurt much, and just a band-aid was enough. "Nooni, I have taught you the basics, and you can do this on your own. You must continue to practice, and maybe then you can even try cycling with one hand or with none at all. Excellence is not gained by accident, it is by habit," said Mahadeva. Nooni felt proud of her achievement. Now she could cycle all over Somanahalli and its bad roads without falling down. She started wondering about the things she could do in Bangalore with a cycle. Would her parents allow her to cycle to school? She didn't think so. One evening, Nooni went to visit Medha at her house. Amit and Anand were also expected there. Medha was busy crocheting a tablecloth. She had a scrapbook near her where different kinds of cloths were displayed, with various types of stitching. It seemed like an interesting book. Medha's grandmother was very happy to meet Nooni. She asked, "What time do you go to school in the city? How does your mother manage to work and do her chores at home?" "My school is at 8:30 a.m., but I get up 2 hours earlier because I have to leave home by 7:15. I have a quick breakfast with mom and dad. Otherwise, I won't get to see them until the night. Sometimes dad comes very late from the hospital, and by then I am already asleep. We have a half-hour lunch break at school. My school closes at 4, but I reach home after 1.5 hours because of the crazy traffic in Bangalore. Medha piped in. "My school is also at 8:30. But I leave home only 15 minutes earlier, because it's so close to my house. I don't even take the bicycle with me. We have an hour's lunch break, so I come home and eat with Ajja and Amma. Then I go back to school and return home by 5 p.m. I help Amma with some of her chores for an hour, and then I do my homework." While they were talking, Amit and Anand entered, and Medha's grandmother started serving them delicious snacks. There were gulab jamuns, mercu samosas, jalebis, biscuits, and an unending supply of potato chips. "What about your projects, Medha?" Nooni asked, recalling the stressful projects in her school. "Our project work is usually done in school. If I have a problem, I ask Shankar Master directly, but our projects are not tough. In Kendriya Vidyalaya, the teachers make all of us sit down and do the project work after class. We have a nice lab as well. But at school, we are like members of one family. Unlike other schools, we don't hide things or compete with each other. We share. That is the culture of the army," said Amit. "I don't have a problem with project work. Dad and I always discuss everything and he always has good ideas," said Anand. Nooni said, "Project work in my school is hell. There's so much competition who does the most difficult project, how many pages there are in the project report, And most of the time parents do the work and credit their children. But Mom never does that. She says I will give you inputs, but you do the research and do it yourself. Maybe that's the reason I never get good marks for my projects like my classmates. I have heard my parents say that the PTA meeting also sometimes turns out to be a competition among parents. Nooni remembered her father telling her, "It is an